To the next video. In today's video I will show you how to use socket IO or web sockets for real-time communication like a chat app in React Native. So this is applicable for both for old architecture as well as new architecture, so you don't have to worry about it. So here I have my React.js app. I have a React Native app on the iOS simulator, as well as a React Native Android app on my real Android device. So as well as I am hosted my Node.js app locally, so I am running it. So I'll enter. So this connected to server which you are seeing is actually a message from my Node.js backend once I'm connected successfully to socket IO. So first I'll enter some message from my web client. I'll submit it, and here you can see on the iOS simulator the message is there, as well as on Android as well the message is there. Now I'll send some message from iOS as well from the iOS simulator. So I'll enter just iOS, I'll click on submit, and here you can see this message iOS as well as on the web app. Now I'll send some message from Android as well. So I'll just type Android, I'll click on submit, and here you should see Android as well as Android over here. So yeah, let's see how to do this. So first I'll explain my Node.js setup so that you guys can have a good understanding of it. So I'll just open my Node app, and here you can see inside package.json I have just taken Express as well as socket IO library. Next inside index.js I have just imported Express as well as socket IO and HTTP. Then I have initialized our Express app. Then this is boilerplate code for Express, and here we are creating our server and as well as socket IO as well. And here we are allowing CORS so that any client which is hosted on any client can access our backend, and this is CORS handling for your so suppose if you have endpoints like for Express app, so this will handle CORS as well. And this is just a dummy endpoint which I have created. Again, this is boilerplate code for Express.js. Now this is the main part. So once the connection is successful, if you remember, I was sending this message to the client side. So here you can see I'm emitting this message. So you have to use the same identifier. So listen to this identifier on the client app, like on mobile app or on web app. And once we receive any message from client, so here I am listening for this identifier. So once I get a message from suppose an Android app, then I am emitting that message back to all the connections which are inside which are connected to socket IO. Okay, and here I am just starting our server. So if you want to learn how to do it for React.js as well, I already have a video on that, so you can watch that video as well. Next, coming back to React Native, so firstly you will have to go to package.json, and I have added this socket IO client dependency main code. So here I have taken an input for use state as well as messages for array of strings which I will display it inside a flat list. Next, given that I am running the iOS part on a simulator, that's why I am using localhost over here. And for real Android device, and for Android I am using a real device, that's why I am using the real IP address of my Wi-Fi. But both are using the localhost 3000, but both are using the port 3001. That's where my Node.js app is hosted. But if you are deployed it to AWS, then you can directly use your domain. And inside use effect, I'm first connecting our socket IO to our web to our Node.js application. Once that is done, if there is any connection issue, I'm trying to reconnect it over here as well. And here you can see I'm getting some message from server as soon as, so I'm using the same identifier which I have defined it on the Node.js side. Okay, as soon as I get a message, I'm appending it to our set message array, and we are extending the data.data property, because if you remember in our Node.js app, while sending it we are using data.data, right? And even while sending it from the client, we are sending it as a JSON object with a key of data. So if you see, this is for handling our text input, and this is for rendering a flat list items, each item. So if you see inside my text input, I am calling handle input change, and on press of our button I am just calling socket.emit. So I am using the same identifier if you remember. So we are listening for message from client, right? And then we, on this Node.js, and we are emitting it to every other device which is connected. So as you can see, I'm using the same identifier, and while sending it, again I'm sending it as an, I'm not sending it as a string but as a JSON object. Okay, and inside flat list I'm just displaying all the messages. So yeah, that's it. Now the important part is we will have to open Android Studio, and you will have to firstly add this uses clear text traffic equal to true, because my Node.js app is hosted locally, that's why. Also you will have to check whether this internet permission is present or not. And for iOS you will have to go to info.plist, and you will have to add this part as well, because again our Node.js app is hosted locally, that's why we had to add this. Apart from this, yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.